very good speakers today. We've heard some very good speakers today. But I think what we're going to find in this movement, if that's what we're becoming, is we're going to find a group of people who can really speak and really inspire people. But I think quite a few of them are in the room today, and some of them might not even know it yet. But one of them is certainly that Catholic is David Sharp. When I first heard him speak, I was quite blown away by just how well he got at a key point, which is how we need to stand together. So, please help me welcome Dave Sharp.
Can you hear me at the back? I'm not loud as John. Well, I'm in the process of getting some teeth out. I want to cut my teeth out. So I hope you can hear me okay. Also, I've got sunburn. I was at my first ever family party 58 years ago. I only just really discovered my family, and I'll tell you about that in a bit. But I was at my first ever, it was my nephew's daughter's 3-year-old birthday party. So it was the Bowsy Castle, the full works, so it was fantastic. Very, very emotional for me. I'm the guy, you may know, some of you may not know, I'm the guy who last year stood outside St Andrew's Cathedral in Glasgow, chained to the cross for 12 days. During that time, a guy went over, and it was my nephew, and I hadn't seen any of my family for nearly 30 years, 20 years, something like that. And it was very, very emotional. And a couple of days later, we went for a meal, and I met all my nephews and nieces, and one young guy came up to me and he said, the last time I seen this boy, he was 9 years of age, and he was jumping on my back, and he says to me, Uncle D, see the next time you come up, can I take you for a meal so that you can meet my 2 children? That's my journey's a quick one. It's a sad one. But when I tell the story, I've learned over the years to try and be less on the negative or the bad. I try to be positive, and I try to be encouraging. And I think I need to go back to what they said at the very beginning. What are we here for? What are we going to achieve? Are we going to continue running around having meetings like this where people give their testimony, and then another month down the line we'll have another one and another one? And they're all really sad stories, and I've been to lots of them, and I've done them myself, and this is why I came up with the SAFE idea. There is a real need, a desperate need, for survivors and survivor groups to come together. If we look at the heading today, it's Injustice Scotland. There's 2 things I thought of straight away. Who's looking for survivors? Who's actually out there looking for survivors? Just before Christmas, John Sweeney stood up in Parliament when he announced the public inquiry was going to involve just historical institutional abuse. And someone said to him, how many survivors do you think are still out there of historical institutional abuse? And John Sweeney said, well over 2,500. Now that's just institutional. At that point, I know myself and people like Janine Rennie, and probably a number of people in this room, had their ears fixed for that one question. And every MP was in that room. What are we doing to look for them? Didn't come. Within the next 10, 15 minutes, I had phone calls and emails from 3-4 different law firms, at least 10 different child abuse campaign groups in England, because I live in England, all saying the same thing. What the hell is going on in Scotland? Why is it no one seems to be uniting everybody together? And my answer is this. Nobody in Scotland likes to talk about child abuse. Nobody. The Scottish Government, the powers that be, the institutions, and I'll keep away from specific religious organisations, they all know this, and they use it to their advantage. That's a fact. Now, a couple of weeks ago there, we had the Time Bar meeting, the debate in Parliament. Every single MP, MSP, I've got to stop saying MP because I'm in Scotland now, MSP, every single one said, well done the survivors, you're so brave, we've heard these stories, you're so brave, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we need to make sure all the support systems are in place. Well, excuse me, there is support systems. Places like Wellbeing Scotland, they have been going for
24 years.
24 years. And over those 24 years, I've dealt with how many?
15,000.
15,000 survivors. And it currently has... How many survivors at the moment on the ship?
We're currently working with about 1,500 people who are...
That's just one.
Yeah.
That's just one. Over the years, I've discovered and found in my journey the same story, people getting nowhere. So what I'll do is I'll quickly give you my journey. I'm Dave, I'm 21 years of age and I lie a lot. That's a joke, by the way. I spent the first 16 years of my life, and part of my problem now is I've been on my own my whole life. And me and John, one of the things that, again, come up these hurdles, one of the ones that's the worst one is the records, John. I spent the first 16 years of my life, my mother died when I was born. My father was an alcoholic. My father was a Protestant, my mother was a Catholic, so they put me in Kilmarnock. I was moved about from different homes, but to this day, nobody can tell me which home I was in. So, as I say, I live in England. What I had to do for a number of years is, I had to get specific jobs. I couldn't walk in an office with just 2 or 3 people, because people ask questions. And one of the first questions people ask you is, especially when they're Scottish people, I used to dread when Scottish people come in and say, what's the first thing they ask you? Where are you from? And what school did you go to? I tell you why. I didn't know. But all I do know is at the age of 13, at the age of 12, I was sent to the notorious St Ninians in Fife. I don't know, does anybody aware of the court case that happened last year? Where there was 2 men convicted. It was the biggest case of its kind in Scotland, but the fact is, probably it was the only of institutional. Over 70 men came forward. I was sent there at the age of 12. Now, on the day I arrived, what happened in those days in the early 70s is all the different gangs from different parts of Scotland used to hang about with each other. So you'd have the Aberdeen mob, the Glasgow mob. Now, I'd come from 3 or 4 different homes, and people say to me, one of these guys, where did you come from? I said, well, here. No, where are you from? I didn't know. I'm from here. Where's your mum and dad? I don't have one. Bang. I got beat up. From that day on, my nickname was the Orphan, and I got beat up regular. I was there for 6 years. After a month, Brother Ryan, my abuser, my main abuser, came into the bedroom, took me out from the bed, took me into his wee room. And what he done was, he sat me on his lap, and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I was naked, but I was in his arms, and he took me back to his room. Now, we all know what I'm talking about here. This is the grooming process. This went on for a little while. Now, what happened was, in the rooms, every night, someone different would get picked. Now, I used to pray that the wee boy next bed to me, Joe Daly, would get picked instead of me. Sometimes my prayers were answered, sometimes they weren't. What happened is one day Joe disappeared off the face of the earth. The Brother Ryan took me down to the showers, and he took his cord off, and he tied it around my neck, and he blindfolded me, and he tied my hands behind my back, and then I heard a load of other guys coming in, and Brother Ryan says to me, if you don't do what I tell you, you're going to get murdered, just like Joe Daly. So they raped me. And this went on for 6 years. I was also taken into Glasgow, and I was taken into shops where I got fancy clothes. Do you remember the Crazy House in Glasgow? Remember that old? The Crazy House in Glasgow, they used to take us in there. This was part of the grooming process, and we used to have the old toys. I remember getting in there, but they used to put like really weird clothes on us, like yellow flares and things like that. Really, but this was us. And what happened is they take us over to Ireland, and when we got off the island, we used to get taken into this house where there was between 5 and 10 men. Now, I can only describe it as satanic, because it was satanic. What they used to do is, I say we because my main memory is me and another blonde-haired guy. But they used to fill us full of alcohol. And then there was a little room next door, but in this main room, there was a red light, and they used to play these games where they would throw like strawberries and tomatoes. The theme was red, but the whole thing was very satanic. And even to this day, I still have flashbacks about it. Now, when I was 16, I got taken in a room, and I said to the people, how come all these other young guys go home at Christmas time and summertime? But yeah, I get taken over to Ireland, and I get taken over to Glasgow. What's going on? What? So they found out that I had a dad. So one day the tannoy was announced. So Dave Sharp come up to the probation, and everybody looked. Dave Sharp's name had never ever been mentioned in 6 years. I was just there. Nobody had ever, most guys went home every weekend and holidays. I'd never gone anywhere. Can Dave Sharp come up to... So I ran up, and there was this little Asian woman at the probation says, Dave, we found your family. You've got a dad. So I remember running downstairs. I'm not an orphan. I'm not an orphan. So they took me to Glasgow, at the Postal Park. John, where you said, Postal Park. And they took me into this house where there was a load of people, and there was this guy sat over there with a string vest on. The house was very run down, and he was drunk. This was my dad. After all the Fullabaloo was done, everybody left, and it was just me and this guy. Now, for the first couple of weeks it was okay. I didn't have a clue what was expected of me or anything, but then he started making demands. You need to go and look for a job. What's that? I had no training, no nothing. He came in one night, after about a month, very, very drunk, and he went in the cupboard and he got a brush and he hit it over my head, and then he got a screwdriver and stuck it in my back. So I was taken to hospital, and when I came out, all of a sudden I was this celebrity in the area. This is the Glasgow culture, which I still don't understand to this day. Everybody wanted to be like, what is this about? I didn't understand what it meant. So I ended up staying out, and I ended up staying rough. I'd rather be outside. But then I started mixing with drug addicts and all the rest of it. And I used to go to parties, and I met this girl at one party, Angie, and she became my first girlfriend. And after about a month, we were in the party, and we both fell asleep on the settee. A lot of drink about, a lot of drugs. In the morning, I was awoken by a lot of screaming. And I thought, what's all that about? Now when I woke up, everybody's pointing to Angie. What had happened is she was dead. A chicken bone had caught in her throat. She was 17 years of age. After that, my life just changed completely. I had to take any drink and any drug I could get. And I fled down to England. I fled to Northampton, where I knew I had a brother. And I stayed with my brother for a month, but I was too uncontrollable. So I found this magic place called London, where drugs were plenty. And I found all these other people who didn't ask any questions and quite happy just to live day to day. And this was Axbourne, part of, some of you know, it's Cardboard City. And I lived that life for the best part of 10 years. But every time I tried to connect with people, I didn't get it right. I used to steal from people. I became a social outcast. I became a social misfit. All my life depended on was drugs. And I knew I was running away from something, as we all are. One time I got kind of rich. I pickpocketed somebody or I stole something, but I got a lot of money. And I bought my way into this derelict building. And I was stupid enough to flash all my money and everything else. So I got drugged and drunk and I fell asleep. And then someone stupid enough to pull out another knife and stabbed me there. It gets worse. But there's a happy ending, promise. I'm here, haven't I? I'm here smiling, yeah. There is a God. There is a God. A little while later, a couple of years later, I'd been in and out of prison. I was in prison for the best part of 25 years. My life was very, very confused. Really, really confusing. I recently did a thing which I'll come on to. I managed to sue the Catholic Church. Wow. And in order to do that, I had to do for the lawyers that you have to go through, and it's a terrible process. You have to go through your own psychotherapist. So I had to go to Edinburgh for 3.5, 4 hours where these people drilled me. When they did the report, they get all your criminal records, all your medical records, you get everything. And I had to phone Janine. I've known Janine for years, and then that's my main counselling service, Wellbeing Scotland, which used to be called Open Secret. And when this thing came through, I couldn't believe it was the same person. I'd been in prison 2 more times than I thought. I'd stabbed a man. I'd actually, me, I couldn't believe the same person had stabbed a man. But anyway, what happened after that was exactly 19 years ago. I met another girl. I had a couple of relationships, drug relationships mainly, where I lied, women for sex, and it was just basically that. But I met this Scottish girl in Northampton. She was a lot younger than me, but her name was Alice. And we became drinking buddies, and I wasn't interested in sex. I couldn't get close to people. All my life I'd run and run and run. People ask me questions, that's it, sorry. And I couldn't connect with people. And I still have trouble doing it now. And one day, we started having sex, and one day Alice came in and she said, I've got something to tell you. And she started teasing me. So what is it? What? And she was playing games with me for a couple of minutes. And then she says, I'm pregnant. I says, what? I says, I've never had a family. But does this mean am I going to have my own family? Yeah. So, exactly 19 years ago, on the 20th of April, I did the honourable thing, and we got married in Northampton Registry Office. Now, this was the time when mad cow was going about, the mad cow disease. All that was all over the country. Exactly 5 weeks after we got married, we went out for a drink and a meal, and we were just like a young honeymoon couple, and we were going home, and we were playing tag. You've got mad cow disease. Just a young couple in love, in front of. So we got home and we went for bed. Sorry, you're not in my It's 7 o'clock in the morning. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. I woke up, and the room was very dark, and Alice was lying in my arms, and all I could feel was this really, really cold thing. I thought, strange. So I went over and I turned the light on, and there was this. Alice was, I describe it as a million colours of blue. And the way she was lying, I don't do this in front of children. She'd be dead for 7 hours, but her head had kind of stretched a bit. She looked like one in the Planet of the Apes. So I ran next door and I got my neighbour and I said, quick, you need to help me. My wife's not well. And he came in and he said, she's dead, mate. I said, but she can't be. What do you mean she's dead? She's dead. So I had to wait months and months for the autopsy thing, and I thought, as long as I can just find out what happened. And through that time, I stayed sober. I didn't do any drugs or anything. And when I eventually got to the place in Northampton General Hospital with all the big tools and the instruments of stuff from years and years ago, I expected to be in there for like 3 days, 4 days. But after 10 minutes, they said she died of natural causes, choked in her vomit, and I lost it. I went mad. I was actually convinced that demons or something in centuries ago, someone in our family had upset the gods, and I started drinking and taking drugs. I was taking a bottle of vodka a day, and I had to have at least 2 needles, 2 fixes, just when I woke up. And I ended up in the mental hospital. I'd already been in the mental hospital about 4 or 5 times, drying out, and I mean at that point I had multiple personality disorders, I had asthma, stomach ulcers, basically I was about 6 stone, and I was in and out the mental hospital. But what actually happened was, I was at home one night, and all of a sudden I started getting these flashbacks of my childhood. It all came back, it all started coming back. And I had to drink more, I had to take more drugs. Now at that time I was seeing a doctor on a weekly basis. This was after my wife died and I was on special watch, if you like. And I didn't turn up for 2 or 3 weeks. So they came in and crashed my house. And on the ceiling there was 2 lamps, 2 lights lighting it. This one here was completely destroyed. And this one here had a rope around it. And on the floor there was bottles of vodka, wraps of drugs. And they took me back in and they put me in the padded cell. And I was in there for a while, and the doctor said, I was in this room, there was about 5 of them. psychotherapist, psychoanalyst, psycho this, psycho that. He said, you're going to be here for a long time. What you've been through, you're going to be here for a long time. I said, okay. So I went back to my room, and I did something I've never ever done in my life. I started praying. And when I woke up in the morning, I went, where's my asthma? Where's my stomach ulcers?
Really? Wow.
And every time I shut my eyes, all I could see was this clear blue sky. I thought, strange. So I went to have a fag. I went like that, and I couldn't smoke it. So I threw it out the window, and I went out in the garden. I planked a bottle of vodka. I got somebody to bring it up, so I had a bottle of vodka in the bushes, and I went to drink it, and I couldn't. So there was this doctor, Dr. Barr, being the care South African guy, and I got hold of him. I said, listen, something's happened to me. I'm not really sure what it is. Can you? So I told him what had happened. He says, you've been born again. So I said, what does that mean? Will I get more brew money? He said, that's what I thought. But will I get more dough money? He said, no, but he said, see, from this day on, your life's going to change. I went, okay, right. Within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I was out of there. Within a year, I had an AO in psychology. I had a need to learn, and I wanted to connect with God. So I ended up moving back up to Scotland, and I went to theology college. And when I was at theology college, I started working in Inverness in Edinburgh, working with homeless people in between studies. And I started noticing all these connections with homelessness and child abuse. And it was literally almost 3/4 people. It's not so bad now, but especially in the 70s and 80s and the 90s, the amount of homeless people who were actually, and even in prison as well, in England and Scotland. So I started wanting to tell my story to people. So there was a gig on somewhere, I think it was Livingston. It was a Christian gig, and it was in the Livingston football ground. And it was kind of Scotland's answer to Cliff Richard and the groups and all this stuff and band. And all of a sudden the guy said, is there anybody here who'd like to come up and give their testimony? And somebody went like that. I think it was God, it wasn't me. And the hand just went, I thought, what? And I ended up doing this. I thought, that's not me. But anyway, I stood up and I started giving my testimony. And everybody clapped and stuff, and I went down. And these two guys came over and he says, you've got the most amazing story I've ever heard. And they were in broken English. He said, will you come to our church? And I said, yeah, where is it? He said, Peru. Something inside me just dropped. He said, and the other one says, and I'm in Brazil. Right, okay. I've never even seen a boat or an aeroplane. He said, all you've got to do is find a fare. So I went back to the theology college up in Dingwall, and I said to the guys, this is the situation. So within 2 or 3 weeks, the guy, the head guy, a Glasgow man, came up and said, here, there's your passport, there's your 600 quid or something, and the plane fare. So before I know it, I'm on a plane. And slowly, even before I went over there, I knew that God was saying to me, listen, you're going to see things here that's going to educate you. You've been abused, you've been abandoned, you've been neglected. You've never seen love. You've never experienced love. You've never experienced closeness with anybody. And when I got to Brazil, I seen something. Even when I got there, it was a Christian commune thing, and I've been back sort of 5 or 6 times since. And it's a thing, and what they do is it's started off with this huge big tent. I mean, talking about football pitch size. And what they do is they go into Sao Paulo and they look for homeless people. Now, if it's the children, what they do is they bring them back, and when I first went there was only 30 of them. And what they do is they give them a little plot of land, no bigger than this, and everybody chips in, and we build a little house. And every day you go out, and somebody will be in charge of plastic, somebody will be in charge of metal, and you go on a bike because there's no money. They're all poor. There's no money. I lived on rice and beans for 3 months, and it was just rice and beans. Literally, one day it was one of the kids' birthday party. And they're making things out of nothing. And the party meal was hamburgers. They were all excited because they never see hamburgers. But when you go out and say metal, you have to go around all the skips and the bins and the dumps looking for metal. And then you might go back and get like 60 EI, which is 2 pence. But they put it all together and tomorrow we're going to buy the windows. And they plan it, then the next day. So that, if it's an adult, they go through the social services and they find the children, and vice versa. If it's the children, they find the mothers and fathers. And because they're so well respected, they bring them in, and all these families grow. But I started going on the streets of South Harlow, and I've seen things that I wouldn't even dream of telling you. You know, underneath, I don't know, it's not so bad now, but underneath South Harlow, there's something like 10,000 children that live there. Every one of them, bar the under twos, are all drug addicts. But what happened was, when I got there, I'd no sooner got off the plane and been here, this guy came up to me and he says, "Can I wash your shoes?" I said, "What? They're new. I got them yesterday for coming here." He said, "Can I wash them?" I said, what do you mean?" He said, "I want you to leave them outside your door every night, and I want to wash them for you." And then a woman came up, she says, "Can I wash your towel?" I said, "I'm not used to it yet." No, she says, "Can you leave your towel?" This was the love. And see the guy who wanted to wash my shoes, he was the head pastor. How many ministers in Scotland do you think would do that for? For anybody. What I discovered is I discovered how to love people. And I discovered this need and urge to help others and to tell my story. And I was giving my story at one church, and I went on the radio and it went to 5 million people, but I didn't speak Portuguese, and I could speak a bit now, so I had to go through an interpreter, but it went out to 5 million people. And I'm like, wow. And then I went into this church where I had about 500 people, and I gave my testimony again, and outside was a helicopter. And I'm looking at it, I thought, oh, it must be somebody important, or famous, a famous Brazilian or something. So I gave my testimony, and then I came out, and Pastor Eduardo said, "Right, come on, we're going on that." Yes, he said, "We're going to another Christian event." So we got up in the helicopter, half an hour, and we passed this big field, and I went, "My God," I said, "there must be at least 20,000 people there." Pastor Eduardo said, "No, there's 200,000, and that's where you're speaking today." It wasn't just me, there was, like the table, there was like 20 ministers and speakers, and oh, okay. But I had another Scots guy named Bruce, who spoke very good Portuguese, so he was my, it was 115 degrees, and I'm speaking for like nearly 2 hours, as I say, and I had a pair of white trousers on, see-through, and a white t-shirt, and I was soaking wet with sweat, so I had to stand behind the pew, you know, I thought, how do I get over to my seat? I said, "Bruce, you walk first and I'll do that." I said, "You see everything." But I spoke in front of 200,000 people. But when I came back to Scotland, I had this urge. So I started getting involved in child abuse and agencies. I started going on the streets of Glasgow, Edinburgh, and I ended up going back to Northampton. I started doing stuff down there. And then in 2010, I don't know if that rings a bell with any child abuse survivors here, 2010 was what I believe was the big change for child abuse in Scotland, historical institutional abuse. What happened was the Pope came to these shores. Now when the Pope came over here, all everybody was talking about was the apology. We just wanted him to apologise. And he finally apologised when he was in the air, out of our airspace. Something in me stirred. Something in a lot of people, a lot of survivors stirred at that point. This is where we have to do it. We need to do something here. And by that point, I had sort of contacts with, I'd probably say about between 20 and 30 other survivors, but certainly a lot of organisations in England. Because I used to go quite a lot of times, whether it's Wolverhampton or Birmingham, I used to give my testimony to crowds of people in churches. And without fail, at the end of it, I'd always get one or two Scottish guys come up and say, "I was in so-and-so in Scotland," and there's thousands of them. Thousands of them. So when the Pope left, the very next day I phoned Cardinal Keith O'Brien. Didn't answer. I sent him an email. He didn't answer. I said, "You're not ignoring me." So I went to Edinburgh, I said, Clement's house, where he lived, and I stood outside all day. Nothing. So I stayed back the next day, I stood outside again. "Please, Ken, what are you doing?" "I want to speak to Cardinal Keith O'Brien." "He wants to see you." I said, "That's fine, I'm not breaking any laws. I'm staying here." So eventually, he saw me. and he put me in touch with the Christian Brothers, who is the ones that abused me in St Ninians. And a meeting was set up, February the 10th, 2010. The Christian Brothers came all the way over from Ireland to meet me. And this guy looked me in the face and said, "You're not going to get a penny from us. Nobody does." I thought, okay, you want to fight? You want to? Yeah, I think so. That's when I started really campaigning. The next year, I went up to Scotland and I stood outside Holyrood for 5 days. Nothing. Completely ignored. I did it 4 times, once for 5 days. I did various other stuff, and then, as I say, during the referendum, I went up for 10 days and I stood outside Holyrood. I spoke to probably 120 survivors who came forward. During that time, I discovered a lot of, not just Catholic Church, Christian Brothers, other religious organisations where they have all these rest homes. In Manchester, Rochdale, Rover, everywhere, where the Catholic Church and the Christian Brothers and other organisations have these rest homes where they pay. So I found this one in Manchester and I thought, I'm going to go down and do a campaign there. So I went down and what I found absolutely shocked me. It was all woods and you had to go down that lane to find this place. And it was like a Spanish villa, 2 swimming pools. This was probably at least a £1.5 million home. I thought, this money should be going on to survivors. So that's when I started contacting the Catholic Church direct and the Christian Brothers and the Scottish Government. In 2002, sorry, I forgot to mention, in 1998 was when I first went to the police. 1998, after my wife died, when I had a breakdown, I was encouraged to go to the police. The police in Fife laughed at me, laughed in my face. Very similar to everybody here. The amount of people you see now who, I went to the police, nothing happened. Scotland is full. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of men and women who had to find the strength to do that, and it didn't work, and they're now sitting in bed sits, in prisons, in homeless centres. That's why getting back to the point, I hope I'm quickly getting to the point. We need to be looking for these people. We all need to be looking to these people. Scottish prisons are full, and I've got some good news. We may be getting into the prisons. But anyway, let's get to the point. Where was I? In 2012, I went to the police, and they finally listened to me. This was before the Savile stuff. But the response from the police was, there's nothing on St Ninians. We've never had any people phone us. I said, well, can I give you a list of names? I'm not going to, but I can. I've got at least 20 who I know, and I've also got in my wall cabinet here, and it grew and it grew. At one point I had 27 candles of people, not just St Ninians, but throughout Scotland, people I'd met who were abused in the system in Scotland and either committed suicide or died of addiction. And 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I had a breakdown. It was too much. Anyway, because the police didn't do anything, I then made the decision to go public. So that's when I went to the press, and the whole thing went bananas. The Daily Record phoned me, the Herald phoned me, said, we're getting call after call. More than 70 men came forward for St Ninians. But what happened was, other people started coming forward, and I started hearing the most horrendous stuff. I became this kind of unelected and unofficial ambassador for so many people. Now, I was in England at the time, and I was really struggling. Now, what kept on happening is I was trying to phone all these different organisations in England. I would look up anything that ends in AS, Maxas, Rinkas, Tinkus, Winkus, anything to do with child sex abuse, you know. And every time I phoned an organisation in England and they talked to me, oh, did the abuse happen in Scotland? Sorry, we can't help you. Put the phone down. I thought, I need help. And then when I phoned the organisation in Scotland, oh, you live in England, we can't help you. Until I found Wellbeing Scotland, In-Care Survivor Service in Scotland, who saved my life. They really, you know, they just great knack of phoning me when I was really drunk and down. And they just really great knack of phoning me when I was really high, not through drink or drugs, just in a really good place. They managed to find the balance and keep me on track and encourage me to keep going. So that's when I started finding all these different other survivors through it. I had different people phone. I'm just going to give you one example. I'm going to give you one example now. A lot of us survivors have stuff in our head that's never come out. We have to live with that. This is the problem, not the problem. This is the thing that we all have to live with. A guy phoned me. I've told you just one thing that happened to me with the ropes. A guy phoned me. He says, "Is that Dave Sharp?" I said, "He said, my name's so-and-so. Do you remember me?" I said, "No." He says, "Don't you remember? We used to get taken out of the home, and we used to get taken to a house in Glasgow by priests, and in the back garden they had a coffin, and they used to lift the lid and they used to put you in it, and then put the lid on and throw stones on." I thought, "You're at it, come on. Come on, this is rubbish." Boom, put the phone down. This guy was in Glasgow. About 4 or 5 or 6 weeks, Janine will tell you, because Janine was at the end of the phone in Sandra, I get another phone call from a guy up in Dundee. "Is that Dave Sharp?" "Yeah." "My name's so-and-so, do you remember me?" "No." "You and me used to get taken into Glasgow into a house where they used to put a coffin in the back garden." Well, as soon as that night when I went to my bed, I started getting all flashbacks. It was horrendous. It was the worst, you know. And I ended up having a breakdown. And I realised then that the only way, and I said to Jane, the only way we cope, the only way we can cope is to come out and work with each other. Because if we try and go and get help, especially from the powers that be, it doesn't exist in this country. Now, this is why we need a new approach. I stood outside Holyrood 5 times. When the Macmillan report came out 2 years ago, and Archbishop Tagliacari had to suddenly rush through an apology because he thought the Macmillan report was actually going to come out a month or so later. And Archbishop Tagliacari rushed forward and made a public apology. The very next day I phoned him, and within 3 days he said, "I'll give you an audience." I met him for 2 hours, and I sat with him for 2 hours. Now I went there not as a representative, I went there as an example, I went there as a victim. I took all my medical records, all my criminal records. I said, "What are you going to do with this? Words is words, what are you going to do with this? You know there's thousands of children in this country." I said, "I've got 3 things I want to ask you. I'll do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Just stop all this campaign, stop all this, do this and that. I want 3 things from you. I want my records. I want you to set up a meeting for a joint settlement meeting and a meeting with the Christian Brothers. I want not just compensation. I want my records from them, and I want you and the Catholic Church and the Christian Brothers to show a meaningful apology and be a part of the healing process." Now, what does that mean? I was brought up in a Catholic home for 16 years. Now, I'm going to cut a long story short. I wasn't going to mention this today, right? But last year I got criminal injuries. I was phoned by a lawyer and I was awarded £22,000, but the lawyers took 25%. That always stuck me off. Now, I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to. This bit's kind of hard because I don't want to upset other survivors, because 99.9% of survivors will never ever get a penny. They won't. And I try to be an inspiration and I try to be an encouragement, but just a month ago I was awarded just under £100,000 by the Christian Brothers. They pushed me to sign confidentiality. Although I know legally they're not allowed now. But they're asking me to sign. I said, "No, I'm not signing. I'm not going to sign." You know, I forgot I was saying a minute ago before I said that. I was making a point with something. Somebody help me. No. Okay, I'm trying to get back on track. Before that, I was talking about pursuing. Keeping that. Okay. See, I went too far. We need to move forward about. When we went to the church, we did a big group thing. Nothing happened. When I went to the church for 12 days, nothing happened. I went home and I thought about this, and I thought, we need to do something different. Now when you look at this magazine, first thing you notice is it's non-political and it's non-religious. We need a new approach. This is just an idea that I and other survivors and Wellbeing Scotland, with their help, has come up with. We've got the help of a solicitor firm and Wellbeing Scotland. Now, when the public inquiry started a month ago, we did a vigil. The following 2 days, a group of us all went to George's Square. There were 7 survivors and a couple of counsellors. In 2 days, we gave out 600 of these. How many survivors do you reckon we spoke to in 2 days? Considering it was unannounced, it was between 50 and 70 survivors came forward in George's Square. I wrote an email to every politician in this country, every organisation, saying, all the newspapers, if you give the survivors a chance, let us show you what we can do. Back us. I wrote to the public inquiry, I wrote to the National Confidential Forum, I didn't write to the church, I didn't write to Nicholas Sturgeon or the high ones, I spoke to all the ones who were supposed to be concerned. I phoned the Scottish Police Service, and I said to them, I said, listen, we want to take this into prisons. The guy says, give me a week, let me get back to you. The guy got back to me just last week, or 2 weeks ago. We like what you're saying here. Can we meet with you? We want to sit down with you and talk to you and see what we can do. These are first steps, and that's all they are. We can have these meetings, go around in circles. Somebody said earlier, somebody in this room said to me, it's like going in a roundabout. Was it you, big man? Going in a roundabout and people just, sorry mate, going in a what do you call it, a magic roundabout. People are falling off. But we also know people who are high profile campaigners who suddenly disappear. Then you hear they've got a job. No, you can't blame them. We're not going to criticise. But the ones that are here, at some point, we'll have to come together and think of a new strategy. Because we're not, in 19 years, I'm going backwards. We're going backwards.
Yeah.
It's up to us. Starts now. Okay?